What was so great about the first one was that it trusted itself and it took its time, and it was less about blood and guts and gore and more about the psychological themes and the moral dilemmas, the creep factor rather than the boo factor.
The Ring is more of a gothic horror story than a teenage slasher movie, you know, but it still has that teenage element.
So, did you guys, do anything?
Like what?
Oh my God, you totally did! You were Tell me now!
But it isn't all about, sticking a knife through a teenager's eye. It's kind of being frightened to death, which is a different kind of horror.
The idea of The Ring is about that killer video which can kill the viewer 7 days time sharp.
Before I did Ring, I was starting to think the horror genre was getting a little out of style, if you know what I mean.
It's about creating an atmosphere of anticipation, apprehension, dread. Part of what Gore did is be very careful about when you give an audience the release and when you withhold the release.
The last really great horror movie was The Shining.
If you go back and look at The Shining, it's all dread and very few big things that go bump in the night, traditional scares. As a result, you leave that movie probably more disturbed than any horror movie. Same with Rosemary's Baby, which is much more a sense of dread, as opposed to The Omen, say, which is just full of jump out of your chair scares.
Hi.
Whether you were scared or not when you saw The Ring, you can't question how spooky that film was. Even when there wasn't a big fright, it had a subtle eeriness to it.
You're gonna die. My cousin was 2 packs a day. Used the patch, never looked back.
Then it had this relationship between a mother and a son.
Rachel? What time is it?
It's either really late or really early, depending on how you look at it.
So there was a very human side to that, which I think helped people appreciate it, that maybe necessarily wouldn't rush out to see a horror movie.
It's going to keep going, isn't it? She'll never stop.
Don't worry, sweetie. You're gonna be okay.
I've got the scariest freaking movie you'll ever see. A buddy of mine actually turned me on to it.
We needed to once again deal with the videotape, and our choice was to quite quickly get off of it. And to focus, as we ultimately did on the first one, on a character issue.
Emotionally, she's obviously in a very different place. She's living with this enormous guilt. All I ever tried to do for him was the right thing. It only ever made things worse.
Then it wasn't the right thing, was it?
There's no one she can talk to, and she needs so much to share a connection with somebody else, but she can't. She's too ashamed, and so it's just her and her son.
Come on, Aiden. Let's go home.
It's not like your average mother-son relationship, because it's all he has, and he really treasures it. Doesn't have a dad, doesn't have any friends. All he has is a haunting memory of Samara and his mom.
You know, it wouldn't kill you to call me Mom now and again. Ma, Mommy.
But Rachel, you know, is more your personality.
Her only focus now is how to protect him and raise him in a way that she feels he's safe.
Aiden! Her life has changed forever, but she's going to try and create the purest, simplest way to deal with it.
What should I do? Be a good mother.
I love you, Mommy.
It is a very character-rich, a very direct approach to movie making. There was once a time when horror was like really mainstream in Hollywood, when the best directors and the best actors and the best writers contributed to the genre. That was what we had in mind.
You can't have my son. So take me.
Right now we're going through a process for the construction of the wells because there's a lot of activity of chase and underwater work. We're trying to stay close to the original film's design and what did the well look like.
There is something spooky about being it, even though it's not completely real and you've got it only half of it showing and then the rest of it's just the set, but just the feeling of claustrophobia. It's just being wet. It's a couple of weeks, all that grime, and they heated it and everything. They made the water warm.
Here I am, Samara. Just like you wanted.
We have her on a wire rig. I have one guy in front of a monitor that's watching her every move, all of her hand moves, so we can try and match every pull she does on the rock or every foot placement she gets to make it look as real as possible.
Let me have just a tiny bit slower version.
Okay.
Yeah. In this movie, we felt like maybe we need something more when Rachel goes into the well and chased by Samara. How to achieve it, maybe CGI Samara, but I felt maybe it wouldn't work in this movie. So Samara in the well was performed by a contortionist.
Deer Sequence went through a procedure to define the action. The story is one thing, and how you get the activity in front of camera is another.
Rachel!
We built a little miniature road with little trees, and we had little dolls and, you know, little parts and cars. Put cameras inside them. When you try to figure out how does the camera fit into it so that you actually see what you want to see, that becomes sort of the design work.
Action!
It was all about looking in these places where there was nothing there, and it's difficult, and that's where you really have to tap into your imagination and trust the director.
Yeah, timing was right. In early stage of pre-production, there was a discussion, maybe we could use the real deer.
Deer are not very easily trained, and even if they were, you can't really make them hit cars.
A lot of the deer are CG deer, but when they interact with the car, then we would step in on the physical side and try to get the physical elements to match. So we took the Volkswagen Jetta and tried to make it look like what happens to a car when you have some irate deers running over top of you.
We have a model deer that gives the actors an eye line to look at, something that they can react to and really get the feeling that they are being surrounded by mysterious creatures. That deer will also act as a little bit of our model for how the deer will look.
It becomes a very big moment and very scary.
Scene 111 Mary, take 3. A camera, mark.
The water falling into the bathroom is normally a fairly simple thing. For us, it got more complicated just because we decided visually it required particular engineering. We did a series of tests with the upside-down bathroom to try to find a look for the water. And in the process, I built a mock-up of it, where we literally took a tub upside down and put my son Pete in a harness that he built, and then tried different film rates. And at around 96 frames a second on the cameras, you got a very nice, creepy, interesting look. Water is a performer in this show, so in creating the effects to it, we built an upside-down set where we flooded the ceiling in a sort of a small pool.
The special effect team invented a very special shower machine.
Where we built a series of 7 dump tanks on latch relay timers that would sequence from one end of the room to the other, and that way you got a progression of water so that you got to see the talent and the effect before the effect wiped their image away from the camera.
That scene becomes one of the most impressive scenes.
You know, it's only a third of a second, but it's a big third of a second visually.
Peter, look at me! Look at me!
They don't dream, you know, the dead. They watch for a way to get back. You did it. You let the dead get in.
I liked doing Samara and just making a horrifying image that kind of sticks with you, you know.
The main challenge for me was how to create the most frightening and eerie feeling with Samara's look in this movie.
I think the scariest thing about Samara, for me anyways, is not knowing what's under that hair.
There's an aspect that what you imagine is always a little bit more frightening than what you see. So when you think of that child who's kind of moving towards you and you're not quite seeing other than that little beginning of the glint of her eye, there's something frightening about that.
We actually liked the way I showed just one eye of Samara in Ringu. So Rick, his team, and I were more focused on the detail of her arms and feet.
In the first movie, we did the makeup in a way that it wouldn't work for the second film because in the second film, she was in water so much. We needed a makeup that would last in the water. We wanted this look that's called washerman. You know, when you take a bath, your hands get all puckery. It just kind of gets worse when you're a drowned person. Her arms were covered with these, like, you know, these glue appliances. I just thought, well, it should be scary and creepy, so we just did a weird kind of too translucent of the skin and just modeled it up with some weird coloring, and you see the veins and things underneath. The whole process took about 5 hours with 3 people working on her. I mean, the main thing that gives Samara the look, I think, is the wig, and we made 3 wigs, I think, that we made for the film. The hairs are individually tied. It's a hand-tied, you know, handmade wig. The wig is all human hair, and it's hard to get real human hair that's that long. You know, our hair is, you know, about 3 feet long. I mean, I usually will use real hair just because it's real. You know, it looks real when you're trying to duplicate something that looks real, and I figured it would work better in water and everything else. The longer hair is really, it was very difficult when Samara would be submerged in the water and come up and do that a number of times. It still got incredibly matted up, and it was very hard to brush that wig out in between takes and get the hair looking the way we want it, smooth and wet looking like that.
Creepy, scary children have been something that have scared us forever. There's this kind of innocence of this little girl in a white dress with black hair that's covering her face and covering her true intentions. There's just something disturbingly unnatural about the whole thing. Innocence on one hand and pure evil on the other.
In this movie, Samara's history is more revealed.
We never really explain why Samara is the way she is. This leads Rachel, Naomi's character, on a journey to find out the truth about Samara's past. We knew all about Samara's adopted parents from the first movie. We don't know anything about her real parents.
Her name was Evelyn. She came to us 8 months pregnant.
Did she have her baby here?
Yes.
And the father?
There was none.
She has to find out what was the truth of Samara's birth.
Evelyn wasn't well. She'd been having problems during the pregnancy. She believed something had come for her baby from the waters of the world beyond this one. She felt she had to kill her baby to save it.
Ultimately, she comes face to face with Samara's birth mother.
Why did you try to kill your baby? Because my baby told me to.
In many respects, her behavior, supernatural though it is entirely understandable from an emotional perspective. As a child wronged, as a child born into a world that was tremendously cruel to that child, but it does raise the question of whether the cruel thing was what happened to her in the world, or whether the cruel thing was the fact that she was born at all.
With Samara, we can feel fear, but we can also feel sympathy. These two elements are kind of key elements in Japanese ghost story.
Also, I think it's scary about Samara is just the movement stuff. The thing that Hideo did in the first movie where they did the backwards walking and the reverse printing and the weird movement that she does, I thought was really scary.
Amazingly enough, so much of what he achieved in Ringu, he achieved through the camera.
The way she moves in the well is the biggest difference, and that was challenging too, because it really took time to create that movement. We discussed how to show Samara's strange walk or movement. We came up with the idea, well, let's ask a contortionist to play Samara in the well. We changed the speed of the camera as well, so her movement looked very weird.
I've always viewed Samara as being basically the patron saint or demon of the abandoned child.
I found you.
There's just something so inherently frightening and arresting about the icon that Samara has become.
One of the challenges was finding similar icons in supernatural mythology that would be a shorthand for American audiences. In much of the ways that a lot of images in Ringu, the Japanese ring, are really used for an Asian audience that is much more familiar with the kind of icon of the child figure with the hair over the face. These images resonate on a very primal level.
The things that captivate us, the things that are so attention-getting, is there things that shouldn't be, but seemingly could be, that there becomes this horrible outcome out of the mundane.
These symbols or motifs that kind of carry real psychological or emotional value just get into your skin. But some of the most, frightening images in these movies are the simplest ones. There are motifs like the fly and the well and the ring itself. Water pooling where it shouldn't, or seeping out from a couch. It's interesting. There's something extremely intimate about it, and therefore some of the best moments are intimate ones.
Much of the same signature imagery from the first film is back in this movie and often utilized in different ways, hopefully ways that you're not expecting.
That image of the oval mirror and the woman brushing her hair was just such a great image in it. Mirrors obviously, connect to illusion and truth.
So while you're not aware of it because it's the absence of something, there's something extremely unsettling about it.
And since Lewis Carroll, which I was obsessed with as a girl, the notion of a mirror being a portal into another world is, part of our consciousness, I think.
There's symbolic meaning as opposed to why they're there. The burning tree was there because we needed to create a way to suggest the sun was going down and the end of the seventh day in the first movie was happening. That very tree is the tree that the young Samara looked at when she was killed by her mother. Because that's the tree that is right over on that hill. And of course, Samara dies in the well. So it's again one of those symbols that actually leads to the uncovering of the sin of the past.
I actually believe it came out of originally a poem that Samara had written.
A poem that actually mentioned many of these images.
Yeah.
You know, we're used to hearing verbal cues in a good Hitchcock movie, but to do them as abstract images and realize, wait, they're not just abstract images, they're symbols that are leading us somewhere. Water is the key symbol.
There are lots of Japanese ghost stories involving a well.
We have kind of natural fear to the water.
There's obviously a connection with birth and something sort of primal in water, I think.
As a symbol, water is the life source, the source of all creation and existence, and at the same time, it's an environment that we can't live in, that brings death when we're surrounded by it.
The water from the bottom of the well can be a symbol of Samara's evil spirit. And at the same time, because Samara was kept, Samara's body or the spirit had been kept in that water at the bottom of the well for a long, long time. So Samara hates that water as well.
As an element, it's kind of the perfect elemental metaphor for life and death in the same object, the power to create or the power to destroy.
Well, they're sacred, very sacred animals in the Japanese culture. And there's, in fact, a famous deer park in Nara, which is near Kyoto. It's another ancient city.
And there's a way that animals know things before humans do. And
that was part of a series of motifs kind of connected to nature. The sense that something's wrong in this little town, that evil has been brought to it, was manifest in a number of kind of natural occurrences like that. And
kind of a scary image. Part of the fun was to try to give the audience clues. In other words, the tape was, yes, it was your death sentence, but it was also provide you a series of images. These images would come back as motifs. It's so kind of fundamental. It's almost as if the sum total of Rachel's existence, as perceived in the world, in these symbols and motifs in the world around her, are again pointing her in a direction.
When you can tap into that inevitability of death, tapping you on the shoulder someday, then you're getting at the crux of what scares people, because we all know that we're not here for long.
This is sofa bed? No, this is a convertible sofa, but we do have these convertible sofas in the other part of the room. But even though it doesn't fold out as a bed, it's very comfortable. Is this the only color it comes in? No, it comes in greens now. How about? We're possibly thinking of getting a whole leather set. Is there an ottoman and a love seat and a chair that comes with it? Yeah, but we're waiting for a shipment. I heard the guy talking. Yeah. But this is, I don't want to rush you. I'm not trying to disclose the deal, but we have a sale. It's good through the weekend, and it's 35% off. And we didn't just raise the prices beforehand. We're waiting 2 weeks for the shipment. If it's not here by the weekend, just cancel my order. And don't even bother sending an invoice.
Aiden? was the right choice. No question.
Hi! Hi there! It's the welcome wagon! Hi! I am so sorry. I am late, I know, but story of my life. I hope your boy eats chocolate. I'm
wow.
Carol Breyer. That's E-Y. E-R, like the ice cream. And my husband's name is Dan, and we live right around the corner. So, welcome, welcome.
Well, come on in.
So, you must be Rachel. It is Rachel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I knew I got
How
it.
did you know?
Oh, gosh, I heard it around somewhere, I'm sure. Well, hello there, Mr. Yu. How do you do?
Aiden, this is our new neighbor, Mrs.
Breyer.
Mrs. Breyer.
It's nice to meet you. Oh. Okay. You keep him away from my bedroom windows, will you?
He's just getting into his new hobby.
Oh, gosh, you don't have to tell me. I've got two of my own. They are so rebellious at that age, aren't they? I mean, sometimes you just want to have your tubes tied. Or your husband's. You know what I mean? We've got the hardest job there is, don't we? I mean, don't we? Being a mother?
Right.
Right. Right. Tell my husband that every single day. So it is just the two of you, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're from Seattle, I think I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that exciting?
Where did you say you knew my name from?
Oh, gosh. That is the neighborhood, hon. Try as we might, there are no secrets here. Although anything you hear about my husband is not true.
Chocolate, huh?
Chocolate.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hey. You know how they can tell you used to work in a real newspaper? You're the only one who closes her door.
Habit.
I wanted to talk to you about my editorial.
Those changes okay?
Well, I asked you to copy edit it, and you rewrote it.
Well, just the part about the bond measure.
That was the whole thing.
Well, it's the bridge that'd get the money, not the riverfront.
Yeah. No, it's kind of a tradition here that I write the lead editorial. I mean, it is my paper.
Of course.
I own it.
Right.
And I hired you.
Uh-huh. Well, I just wouldn't want to see us print an opinion that was, what's the word? Wrong?
Rachel, you know, a big news day in Astoria is a school board meeting, a car wreck, and a cat in a tree. Now, that's big news. Now, are you sure this is the job you're looking for?
Well, I'm around for my son more. In Seattle, I wasn't.
Good a reason as any. I'm glad to see you're settling in. I like the...
Hey, Max, while you're here, have you given any thought to that piece for tomorrow?
You know what? Don't you worry about it. Sorry.
Okay, so we're still down for Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m., Friday at 3. We don't anticipate any conflicts. Same schedule.
No problem, really.
Because I'd need to know if there's any changes.
Relax, I'm pro.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Checkmate. Boy, Plank, you sure have lost your finish.
That whole plate, and here's the banana.
Banana?
Run, Johnny, run!
Okay. Where to?
Hit the bullseye. bullseye, Johnny! Squeeze the banana and hit the bullseye! Do it! Hurry! Hit it! Hit it!
Ben.
I love it. Miss Keller, I have the first pass on the story, if you have time. It's 900 words. I have a lot more. I didn't know how much you wanted on the videotape.
What videotape?
Oh, apparently Jake had been trying to get his friends to watch some videotape the whole past week.
You wrote about a videotape?
Yeah, there's a rumor around the school that that's what killed him.
Take it out. Any reference to a tape, take it out. People don't need to know.
But I kind of thought it spiced things up a little.
It's a rumor, and we don't print rumors.
Okay, but what's wrong with...
Kill it, or I kill the story. All right?
Sorry, Sorry. I thought it was worth looking into.
Well, you were wrong. So we'll just swing by and see what they have. We still need stuff for the kitchen and for the living room. And you can keep a watch on the backyard stuff. How's that? Everything all right at school today, honey? Did you learn anything fun? Did you take any pictures? All right, I know. Mom's asking too many questions. Hey, look at that, honey. Quick. Whoa. You're definitely living in the country. Pretty cool, huh? You sure you're all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little cold, Rachel.
All right. Here you go. Feeling cold?
Yeah, just a bit.
Okay, let's go. Let's go right upstairs and get in bed. It's getting nice and warm. Why is he sick? Accident.
Everything's okay?
Yeah.
Good.
My car.
Oh, take mine.
Thanks.
So let me get this straight. He calls you Rachel, not Mom or Mommy?
I wish you would.
Yeah, doesn't like the water much, huh?
It's news to me.
Well, we'll be fine.
Thanks.
What's the story, Rachel?
They've stabilized his temperature.
I mean the story with you and Aiden. You seem awfully hard on him. Look, I understand this is a difficult time for you. Moving, a whole new life. Maybe if you tell me. You know how I told you I moved back from New York? Well, I probably forgot to mention the other hobby I had at the time. A drinking hobby. Cost me my job. Cost me my girlfriend.
I'm sorry for you.
And since we weren't married and I was drinking, I had no custody rights to my daughter. Great kid. Real sweet. It's been about 10 years now since I've seen her. So I moved back home, I dried out, and I inherited a newspaper. And I think that's the part I told you. And you moving here for your son, that's the part you told me.
All I ever tried to do for him was the right thing. It only ever made things worse.
Then it wasn't the right thing, was it? It's okay, Rachel. You can get help. My name is Max Rourke. Dr. Johnson left me an urgent message.
Excuse me, doctor?
I'm Dr. Johnson. I was the admitting physician for Aiden.
Is there something wrong?
Yeah. Have you been in contact with Rachel Keller?
No, why?
Her son's missing, and we have reason to believe that she was involved in his disappearance.
What are you talking about?
Mr. Rourke, it is my obligation to notify the police if we can't locate the patient. Now, I'm asking you, do you have any idea where Miss Keller or Aiden might be?
I think I can help. Give me an hour.
Mommy, I don't feel very well.
I know, baby. Me either.
Catfish in the deep blue.
She wants me again.
No.
It isn't a nightmare, is it? Come on, Rachel. We've got to run.
No, honey, no. We can't run. Not anymore.